The 24th ordinary session of the African Heads of State and Government is on in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Some of the African bosses are already in, and more are expected to arrive tomorrow morning in time for the plenary session. President Uhuru Kenyatta is leading the Kenyan delegation to the summit that will yet again focus on Africa's relationship with the International Criminal Court. Kenya is pushing for the ratification of the Malabo Protocol that seeks to empower the African Court of Justice to handle international crimes such as genocide and other crimes against humanity that are currently being handled by the ICC.
With the International Criminal Court, what we have seen is that the cases are being prosecuted in The Hague. It's not actually doing much for the judicial systems on the continent. And what we need is to build the capacity of our own judicial systems.
While Kenya has led the way in signing the protocol that was adopted in Equatorial Guinea last year, no other country has walked the talk on the ratification of the protocol. Kenya is reaching out to other African countries to support the proposal of having a stronger continental judicial mechanism that will lock out the ICC. At least 15 out of the 54 AU member states are required to ratify the Malabo Protocol. Kenyan lawmakers who are members of the Pan-African Parliament well aware of the challenge ahead.
We have to go back down to SADC and ask ourselves what are our relationships between the East and SADC and what are the challenges.
So I think ICC, this kangaroo court, we're saying enough is enough. People in Kenya and Africa, we're saying enough is enough.
An African Court of Justice with an expanded mandate is seen as a tactical way of moving the continent out of the ICC. However, critics of the proposal see it as yet another attempt by the African leaders to perpetuate and entrench impunity, since sitting heads of state and government and other senior government officials will be exempted from prosecution by the Continental Court. But all the same, Kenya is determined to push the process.
And the following is that we want an African solution to African problems. We want to have the African Court of Justice and Human Rights, and we want to have an end to the interventionist policies of the ICC and their own statute.
We want an homegrown solution. An homegrown solution is based, that is driven by Africans themselves. We need an ACC, which is run by the African Union.
The Kenyan delegation is also keen on pushing the African leaders to focus on the case against Deputy President William Ruto at the ICC with the same vigor that they exhibited in the case against President Uhuru Kenyatta, whose charges have since been withdrawn by prosecutor Fatou Bensouda due to lack of sufficient evidence.
The first agenda we must stand with is how do we ensure the African Union supports us to ensure the Deputy President comes out from the ICC.
Problem with ICC is that you are told you are guilty, prove yourself you are innocent, rather than you are innocent until proven guilty. Therefore, it's a political kind of things. We'll fight very hard.
Critics of the ICC have always insisted that the court was being used by the West to humiliate African leaders and influence the continent's political direction.
I really wonder if an international criminal court should be pursuing justice blindly, or they need to look at the African solution or the Kenyan solution to its own problems.
So I think ICC, this kangaroo court, we're saying enough is enough. People in Kenya and Africa, we're saying enough is enough. We don't want to spoil our country.
Even after we had fought, people have embraced the spirit of forgiveness. Our people are working together. They are doing everything as one people.
But the Hague-based court insists that it was only interested in justice and ending the culture of impunity. So far, only Kenya has signed in support of the Malabo Protocol, and 14 more nations are required to endorse the ratification of this protocol that seeks to expand the mandate and jurisdiction of the African Court of Justice to handle matters that are currently being handled at the ICC. But it may not be a walk in the park. An intense lobbying continues tonight before the African heads of state and government convene tomorrow for the plenary session. Francis Gashuri, Citizen Live at 9, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.